Say that looks can be deceiving. There's been rumors going around. One look means the same thing as believing everything you've heard without hearing a sound. So if my eyes remind you of wandering a well, it's 'cause your heart is the stone. And I know sometimes it can seem like my mind belongs to a child that's grown. Somewhere between you and me, I've lost my way and I've been trying to get back home. Trying like hell, but it's too soon to tell. Our love has all dried up like water in a well. Lord knows I've tried to move on, get you out of my mind. You find your way into all my songs, every memory I can manage to find. Someday if I'm standing on some big old stage, you're down in the crowd, trying to tell friends I used to know him when in your heart you know ain't true somehow. Trying like hell, but it's too soon to tell. Our love has all dried up like water.
If you write anything on your computer, you need to get Grammarly.
I write pretty much all day.
Well, I've been spending all my money on weed and pills, trying to write a song that'll pay the bills, but it ain't came yet. Guess I have to rob a bank. I guess it could be worse, ain't that bad. At least I ain't sitting no Baghdad in the middle of the hot day of death, sitting in a tank. Well, time my wife talks, so baby gets mentioned. I'm so broke I can't pay attention, and Lord, how it tears me up to have to see her crying. Oh, I've been spending all my nights on the internet, looking for a clue but ain't found one yet. Just a bunch of Mopars, guitars, and other shit I can't find. Well, now, Lord, if you can hear me, won't you throw a damn dog a bone? If a devil shows up with a deader deal, his whole soul's going down. Oh, I sing 'em real pretty, sing 'em real sad, and all the people in the crowd say, ain't happy. Well, now call me King Turd up here on Shit Mountain. If you want it, you can have the crown. Well, I've been sitting on my ass like a bump on a log, watching Andy and old Boss Hogg. I guess I ought to get up and go out and find a job. Instead of sitting on the couch trying to find the next line, I'm sure there's gotta be a better use of my time, like figuring out which one of them banks I'm gonna go rob. Well, the name of the game is hurry up and wait low, but that ain't putting no food on my plate or gas in my car. And I drive a Bronco. Oh, now, Lord, if I could just give me a record deal, I might not have to worry about my next meal, but I'd still be trying to figure out what the fuck rhymes with Bronco. Oh, now, Lord, if you can hear me, won't you throw a damn dog a bone? 'Cause if a devil shows up with a better deal, his old soul goes down. Oh, I sing 'em real pretty, sing 'em real sad, and all the people that oh, I'm getting pretty tired of state things are in. Sometimes I feel like cutting a vein, just watching it bleed. Oh, I'm tired of letting it down, get nothing on the other end. And people only want to be your friend when you got something they need. Oh, I'm getting pretty tired of being treated like competition, when the only one that can hold me down is inside my head. Oh, what's the honky gotta do around here? Get a little recognition. Starting to think it might be worth more to everybody if I was dead. Oh, now some days you kill it, and some days you just choke.
All right, guys, that's enough Sturgill Simpson for now. Thank you for joining me. It's been a little bit. I wanted to do the show over the weekend. Was going to do it Sunday. CJ decided to do a show. I didn't want to distract too much from what other members of the media do, so I pushed it back. And then I just want to spend some time with the wife and kid, as they've been gone for 2 weeks. So it's been nice. Really happy they're back. I do not do well by myself, so it's nice to have my family back with me. And it's nice to be back with you guys during this season number 135. We got a lot to catch up on. We're going to be going over what happened in recruiting, some surprises that we saw, probably in all 3 divisions. Won't go too much over D2, but I did pick up a team in D2, so I'm going to be talking about it a little bit more. Really just following, what makes people successful at D2, why they're successful, what it takes to be successful, which I'm learning. So hopefully you guys can learn along with me if you don't already know. And then, just keeping track of success and everything else that's out there. So it should be good. So we'll probably start in Division 1 AA. I'll go into Division 1. We'll jump back a little bit to Division 2. I know it's a little backwards. Just talk about different recruiting class, different things I saw. And then we'll take a short, quick little break. And then we'll jump into some, season ongoings. We've been through 4 games. Tonight will be the last game of out-of-conference play. So if you're rewatching this, we have not covered that 5th or last game. And we'll kind of go through, see what the conferences are kind of shaping out already, kind of see where we think we're going to end, and then we'll make some playoff predictions for Division 1 AA, maybe some national championship and conference championship predictions for Division 1A. So yeah, it should be a pretty action-packed night, and I'm really looking forward to it. But without further ado, let's just jump right into recruiting. We'll start in Division 1 AA. As you can see, I'm going to be going off a guess for this. I'll probably do the next show I'm going to go through the media guides and kind of talk about my predictions, what GT Deuce's predictions came out to be, kind of how they line up, where some of those coaches are doing based off of those predictions, so we can kind of compare and contrast, see how good those predictions are, and go from there. So it should be good. But anyways, Division 1 AA, couple things that stand out to me, especially some of the big ones when it comes to recruiting. And yeah, I am in recruit class rank, so that's good. Nitros over here at Arkansas Pine Bluff is absolutely killing it. So I believe he's in his 4th year of his rebuild. He's all the way at number 3. So his vision's not spectacular. It's not terrible, but it is good, and he's getting really good quality players. And really, ever since he even started, I mean, his very first recruiting class in his rebuild was ranked number 20, right? That's huge improvement. I mean, look at this. People have never had a top 20 ranked recruit class. He's already put together 3. 2011 and 3. Was able to do a lot with very little vision, and he's only getting better. But we don't expect anything less out of Nitros, and that is a very good area to recruit. Before I moved to Jacksonville, I was talking to Nitros about kind of where he was going. Also talking to Jag about where they were going, and we definitely discussed Arkansas Pine Bluff. It is a great kind of area to recruit from. You don't have too much pressure coming down from Division 1A where he is. You don't have too many great Division 1 AA teams you're going to have to battle off. You kind of got your own little pocket there, which is what you kind of need in order to get solid recruiting classes. But if you also look at Nitros, he's just a great coach. He knows good talent, and he can find them. So, and he's going to get high potential guys all the time. But this was another great class from him. At the top, it's very deep on the line, and then it's followed up by some skilled positions. One thing I noticed, which I probably mentioned before, but he doesn't have a quarterback, and I've talked to this a couple times with you guys. I personally like taking a quarterback every year. My offense definitely relies on it as I throw the ball every single play, but not everybody's does, so we'll see what he can do there. But yeah, another great recruiting class coming out of that rebuild. Let me hit back a whole bunch of times. Another thing I noticed is the state of Texas absolutely dominated recruiting in Division I AA. They got Texas Southern coming in at number 2. They got Texas State at 7, Stephen F. Austin at 8, and I thought there was another one, but maybe there's not. Oh, and Sam Houston State. I think that's Bama's first year there, yeah, and he came in at number 26. So the state of Texas has a ton of talent, but there's still a ton of competition. You have a ton of Division 1A schools, a ton of non-BCS schools that are going to dip down and take recruits, and then you have a ton of Division 1 AA schools that you're going to have to recruit against. So the fact that many teams, I mean, you had 1, 2, 3 just in the top 10. That's crazy. I mean, in the top 8, 7 and 8 coming with Texas State, Stephen F. Austin. It's a great place to recruit from, and they did a great job. Another thing I took notes, the school that I left, Jacksonville, Timber Drive, I really was not planning on leaving the school. I told you guys this a couple times. I said that the only thing that I would leave for was Houston. It opened up, so I took it. And really the number one reason why I didn't want to leave is because of the recruiting location. I believe there's only one other school in Florida at the time that you have to recruit against. You're in Jacksonville. You could dip all the way down into Miami. You could kind of go to some of these southern schools and kind of pick up some leftovers. So there's definitely a ton of talent around, and Timber Drive kind of kept that going, coming in with the number 5 ranked recruiting class. Wasn't a huge class, but he got some really good talent, really good running back here in Jose Hughes, and then some good offense and defensive linemen. Decent running back here. If that guy's got good potential, he's going to be really good. And then the number 25 ranked quarterback, which if he's got decent enough potential, hopefully he's in the high 60s by the time he's a junior. So we'll see where that ends up. But it's another great spot to be. Other things of note in Division I AA. Let's see here. Northern Iowa, as always, keeps killing it. I mean, you're never not going to see him up there. We've talked about Alec at 1 quite a bit in the Slack chat. Obviously, that's a great place to recruit from. Great vision. And actually, if you look at the current coaching map, which I did earlier when I was trying to prove something to Alec, is that it's a great location. You don't have a lot of Division 1A schools around you. The Division 1A schools that are in the area probably aren't dipping down into your talent. And a lot of these guys don't quite have the vision yet to really compete with a school like Dayton as far as the best players. Youngstown State will, but his major focus is going to be kind of this area. And then, of course, all the great recruits in Pennsylvania and kind of New York area. And if you look at Alec's class, what he did is he went up to Michigan, went into some Minnesota, and then got Indiana, Ohio schools. So look at this. I mean, look at this area he has to recruit from. Obviously, Valpo, if you actually look at the recruit breakdown, is, I think, the number 1 school as far as highest rated players within your 360, I believe is what the stat is. So that's a great place, but that coach doesn't have the best vision yet. Eastern Illinois hasn't had a lot of successful seasons, so they're not going to have the best vision. And then you go down here to like Eastern Kentucky, which probably has good vision, but he's kind of recruiting in this area down here, doesn't move up too much. And, you know, you can kind of see the breakdown of why that school's good to recruit from and why they can be very successful in the future. So definitely an interesting note there. Oh, good. It looks like the Diamondbacks tied it up. We'll go ahead and close that tab, and we'll see what else. Texas State. I mean, Fumitowik just keeps killing it. He is actually my pick for the national championship, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And then you have Jag with his rebuild at Delaware State. This is his 3rd year. He went 29, 26, and 10. I'm guessing he likes this a lot more than recruiting from the West Coast. And if we take a look at his players, small recruiting class, but the core is solid, and that's what really matters. He also was able to get out here at the number 12 quarterback, so that's big. If that guy's got good potential, he's going to be a great quarterback come junior, senior year. So great steps in the right direction for Jag coming out of that Delaware State rebuild. Excuse me. It's been a long day, guys. If you can't tell, my hair's a mess. I've been out in the sun doing a home tour in Cave Creek and Carefree, which if you don't know the Arizona area, it's where a lot of the rich people live. Went through a lot of $1 million homes and talked to a lot of people that have way more money than I do today. So it was a little long, but it is what it is. Yeah, so more things to talk about. Florida Atlantic, I think it's the only other Florida school. Actually, I think Husker, aren't you at Florida A&M? Correct me if no, you're at Akron now. So yeah, I think that's the only other Florida school if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so Florida is another great area to recruit from. Lots of recruits there. Rob Man 21 coming through with the A10. William Mary doing the same thing. Cal Poly Crondon successfully done well pretty much since his first time. He started off with the 6, was probably his highest. I remember this year he got jumped on by a lot of people. So it kind of, an 18 is not bad, especially in a loaded world. But he's consistently getting a top 15, top 20 class, and that's really what you want. Especially if some of those guys are high potential. It's definitely nothing to shake your head at. Let's see if there's a coach or a school. I mean, Tennessee Tech, Eastern Kentucky's fallen down a little bit. Portland Sky somehow ended up with 24, which is pretty good. I think there's a lot of coaches that have been there that weren't able to get that good of a recruit class. Georgia Southern in J9. That's definitely an up-and-coming coach. Keep an eye on him. I think he's going to do a great job there and continue that success. Talked about Bam in his first year back at Sam Houston. That state of Texas is just killing it. Alabama A&M's having a down year. Macbeth BR over at St. Mary's. He's having a good season, which we'll get into. He had a decent recruiting class. And the farther we down, the harder it is to say. This is kind of the biggest surprise. What happened to Drake is, did T-Poc just, get busy? Did he miss a couple recruiting classes so he couldn't battle? He had probably more playoff money than a lot of people with a pretty deep run. But you dive into it, and it's not a terrible class. It's a smaller class, too, so it's not going to hurt him too bad. As long as he gets a better quarterback next year, he'll probably never have to start this guy. Same with some of these DBs, probably cut this defensive lineman. It's definitely not going to hurt him in the long run because that team's usually stacked with talent and is usually in the top as far as recruiting goes. Let's see if there's anything else that kind of catches my eye. Coastal Carolina, Princeton, Drake was the big one. Orange Pace, you never know with Orange Pace. He always recruits high potential guys. The fact that this class isn't actually higher, these 2 sims that he probably took, I'm guessing, definitely brought it down, but the rest are all 5- and 4-star guys. So that guest rating is definitely a little misleading. So we'll kind of see what happens there. And I imagine there's going to be some cuts coming out of Marist. And yeah, Indiana State. Indiana State's another great place to recruit. Excuse me. If anybody's looking to make a move or anything like that, I definitely check out Indiana State. We already looked at that map. Obviously, you got Dayton kind of in the area, but Indiana State, I think, can almost recruit that Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana area better than Dayton can. You start getting good vision, you're probably going to be closer to those better recruits and be able to pull that in. So definitely keep an eye on that school to see if it ever gets filled, which I doubt it, but who knows. Butler's another great one. Butler's another Indiana school that somebody should probably take a look at and take over. But we'll see what happens there. Duquesne, number 16. Let's check them out. Uh-oh. Internet's going slow, boys. There it goes. All right. Duquesne, number 16. Columbus Buck, since he's been there, 38, 38, 16. So he's definitely improving, and that's good. Probably didn't have the best vision. They didn't really have, the best rosters before that. Back in 129 and 128. They had some really good full rosters. They just never made any deep runs. Definitely another great area to recruit from, and they got a good coach in Columbus Buck, so I definitely expect good things out of them. And it's an overall good class. You start looking at the top. You got your skill position towards the top with this running back, 71-20, which is a very good core rating, especially if he's a speed guy. I definitely think speed guys are going to be better than strength guys in most of our offenses here in Wilkinson. You got your good defensive linemen at the top, which you just need to stop that run when they do. Maybe put some pressure on the quarterback. Good offensive lineman's always big. A good wide receiver. I do like those cornerbacks. To me, cornerbacks are everything. One thing I might bring up later, we might wait till another show, is as Ebel was looking at different, or I think it was actually UFI, you're looking at different records for interceptions, and you made that spreadsheet of, I believe, the most interceptions per season, listed all the schools, and then put their performance in the playoffs. Most of them were deep runs, and a lot of them were national championships. Now, Pete was also on that list quite a bit, and almost every time you saw him on the list, he was winning national championship. So there's definitely a correlation between Pete's success, interceptions, and winning championships, or just having success in general, like you saw with some of those other coaches. So definitely big to get those cornerbacks, get them smart, get them fast, get them catching that ball. But anyways, it's a great class by the Duquesne Dukes and Columbus Buck. Only his third year in that rebuild. Definitely expect bigger and better things coming out of him. All right, boys. Yeah, I mean, nothing else really too crazy jumps out at me, but, you know, we definitely had some good classes out there. I think that's it. If you guys want me to go over something in Division 1AA, just let me know in the chat. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and jump to Division 1A with recruit class rankings. No surprise, Penn State's at the top. Obviously, the best place to recruit from out of any school, including elites. And they have a solid team. I mean, there's not too much to say about it. Got some stud offensive linemen. You know, only came out with the number 19 quarterback, right? Only came out and got the number 2 defensive back and then the number 3 wide receiver. So solid class as always. To me, in my personal opinion, and there it goes, was Miami with the GOAT. I mean, his first season was just stacked. Look at all the number 1 recruits he got. He got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 number 1 recruits, the number 3 running back, the number 8 offensive lineman, and a number 13 offensive lineman, and he skated away with the number 8 quarterback. Now, that class is absolutely stacked. The fact that he probably took that sim, obviously, with that wide receiver, and then the punter kind of pulls his rating down, or else he definitely would have been the number 1 class. In my mind, he is, but that is a good way to start off at a new school. Miami, I coached Miami back in the day, I think in Bryant, and definitely what I noticed is the level and quality of recruits in that Miami area are definitely in cycles. You'll have years, or you'll have seasons where you'll have every single person's going to be within your 160. They're going to be, you know, top 10 guys at every single position, and you're going to have everybody green after the first cycle because there's not too many coaches that can really go down all the way back down to Miami. Like Florida State, it's hard for them. Florida, it's hard for them to go all the way down to South Florida and recruit Miami. And then you have non-BCS schools, and other than South Florida. So Ebel's down there. He'll definitely give him a challenge when he gets some money. But other than that, there's not a ton of schools that are going to be able to compete against them, or even want to, because they're too busy having to battle every single buddy else. So to waste money to go down to Miami just isn't going to be feasible. So you're going to have those years where it's just great. It's gravy. You're done after one cycle. And then you're going to have the years where there's maybe 3, maybe 4 recruits that are good, that you can definitely turn green or worth recruiting. And everybody else you're going to have to go far for. Because if you have to go far, that means you're going to North Florida. That means you have to go into the Carolinas. That means you're trying to figure out how to battle the elites in the South, like LSU, Alabama. You hopefully don't have to go as far as Tennessee. But, yeah, in those bad cycles, which it kind of averages out to maybe every other one, you're definitely hurting. So when the years are good like this, you absolutely have to take advantage of it, and you have to grab those guys up, and you have to pray that it's good for a couple years before you get those bad ones and those dry spells. But if anybody can do it, the GOAT can do it, so we're not going to cry too much for him. Not going to feel too bad for him. Laswell, Boston College, I mean, another place, good place to recruit from. Tennessee with Dean Horvey. Tennessee isn't, I wouldn't say it's a great place to recruit from, and I wouldn't say it's a bad place to recruit from, but it's definitely a hard place to recruit from. If Alabama, LSU, any of those guys want to walk in and challenge you for a recruit, they can. They're still not that much farther away or even that much closer than you are. So the money advantage isn't really there. But if you can kind of build that wall in Tennessee, it's great. You just got to do it and hope nobody battles you. So, this is a great class this year. I mean, got really tough on offensive line. Got the number 2 linebacker. He is rated as an inside linebacker, which to me tells me he probably doesn't have as much speed, so he's not going to cover much, but he should be able to stop the run and maybe get you some sacks. He got the number 14 linebacker there, number 3 DB. I mean, this was a great defensive class out of him. I expect in 2 and 3 seasons, Dean Horvey to just shut people down. When these guys' formation IQs get up, I mean, obviously they can start. Both those defensive linemen are almost rated 80 in their cores, so they could probably definitely start now in most teams, and probably his team as well. Maybe same with that one linebacker, the number 2. But, I mean, this defense is going to be deadly in a couple years, so I'd love to see what he can do with it. It's a great coach, and he pulled in a great class. All right, Notre Dame had a good season. Alabama, Ohio State. Roxy was in quite a few battles, and he must have won some because I don't think he took too many sims. By the looks of it, he probably didn't take any sims, so he definitely had some backs up. I mean, it's a good, solid class. He needed a lot of offensive linemen, so I hope he's at the very least redshirting some of those and maybe kind of balance out his class. He did end up with the number 1 rated guest quarterback in Peter Russell, which I know he was battling for. And won that guy, got a good wide receiver, so all around good class from Roxy, who's been holding his own there at Ohio State. Mixed results, had some good seasons, have some bad seasons, but nothing too severe there. LSU and Florida come out with number 9 and 10. Hypnotoad in Missouri. Who knew that anybody could recruit out of Missouri? He didn't have a big class, but he had a decent class. He had a decent sized class, and he came in at number 11. Obviously heavily favored by those high core value rated offensive and defensive linemen, which is great though. Found a good running back. I mean, that running back's at least power rating is 78.42. That's a great running back there. Another good defensive lineman, a good wide receiver, and 2 decent, actually pretty good cornerbacks. I mean, a 67 and a 64 in Division 1A. Those core ratings are definitely good. They have any kind of potential, they're going to be great cornerbacks come their junior, senior seasons. So keep an eye on the Missouri Tigers. The fact that Hypnotoad's found a way to recruit from there is pretty amazing. You don't see too many guys even want to do it, let alone do it. But it is only his second year, and he had 22 his first year with no bowl money. So hats off to him. Great job, Hypnotoad. Which I really hope, I don't know if this is it, but I hope that's a reference to Futurama. So we'll see. I'll let him tell me if it is or not, and maybe I'll have to ask him. Z32 in Syracuse came out with the number 12 class. He was in quite a battles, very active in the Slack channel about his recruiting class and who he's going after. I wouldn't really say there's any studs. Obviously, you got a really good defensive lineman. You got a good offensive lineman. And then I'm guessing all these guys are hopefully high potential. I do know I'm pretty sure he liked this quarterback. And he really wanted him, at least I believe so, if I remember the Slack ratings right. But not a bad job coming out of there. If you look at his full roster rank, though, it's number 5. He's got a pretty good team. I mean, he's got a redshirt junior quarterback. He's rated 70, so it's not the number 1 quarterback. He's actually only the 77th best quarterback, at Division 1A. But the rest of his team is stacked. I mean, he's loaded on running backs. He's loaded on talented wide receivers. I'm guessing he doesn't really use it to tight end because he's got one and he's not that good. Really good line on both sides of the ball. Good linebacker, good defense, which is what you need. Some decent DBs, probably needs more than that. But overall, a good, solid team coached by a great coach. Definitely expect big things out of him. Alrighty, boys. Moving all on. Kenzie keeps recruiting out of Minnesota. We have talked about that team quite a bit. I mean, it's a good place to recruit from, and Kenzie just keeps doing it, so hopefully find some success. Nice to see Arcade Cowboy and the state of Texas representing in there at number 14. Texas came in at number 4, but, I mean, if you looked after the first cycle, he got everybody he wanted. Nobody even challenged him, so it wasn't a surprise there. But anyways, nice to see another Texas school. Like I said, just like Division 1 AA, that state is loaded with schools at Division 1A. So it's definitely, kind of tight. You got Oklahoma with Blitz coming down every once in a while to take recruits. Jason Freeman at some point might be coming down to take some recruits out of Texas as well. We'll see. But definitely a good recruiting class there. Allen at Rutgers. According to Alec, I believe he thinks this is an elite, but really, in reality, it just functions in an elite because of recruiting area. So we expect nothing but a top 20 class coming out of Rutgers, so hats off to him. South Carolina and Trey Yomo, you guys keep letting him get decent recruiting classes. He was winning with bad rosters and bad classes. So I would definitely look out. You got the number 10 quarterback, which is a great pickup by him. Good offensive defensive lineman, a great running back, a decent wide receiver. I mean, this guy's definitely always going to be good in good. Yeah, just good during the year. I can't even talk. Let me take a drink of my beer, so maybe that'll help. All right. Let's move on. As you can tell, I'm just a little tired. All right, South Carolina. Phil. Was looking at Phil's recruit class rankings since he's been in Wilkinson to prove another point yet to Alec, because apparently facts don't speak loud enough to him. Phil, since he started in Wilkinson, has never had a class rated lower than the one he had this year, which was 19 at a school like Maryland with no bowl money. That's insane. If you look at Maryland, they haven't had a top 20 class in a really, 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 really long time. The guy comes in and pulls out the number 10th recruit class. But then you just look at what he's done before. Before that, he had never had one lower than 11. The guy knows how to recruit. He's going to recruit your pants off. You better go and battle him, or else he's just going to get tougher and tougher. Now, this class isn't loaded with 4 and 5 stars guys, but it's loaded with guys that if they even just have average potential, are going to be good quality starters in Division 1A. This is a great first class at a BCS school with no bowl money. This is the type of class you need if you want to keep your job in 4 years. So hats off to you, Phil. You did a great job again, and the bar is set pretty high to you from recruiting, so you better keep it up. All right, so we keep moving down. CJ came in at number 38. Taught me a tough lesson that I had to learn. Hat Rock at Marquette, another school that you don't see doing that well very often. Another team that's able to recruit well. Jason Freeman coming at number 23 in his first year in Nebraska. I mean, that's just going to get higher and higher. Another impressive coming in right behind Phil is number 20 in Abel. No bowl money in South Florida and needed a lot of guys. Need a lot of guys. There's 3 elites in the state of Florida, and you're sandwiched right in the middle of them. It's crazy. But he comes in and pulls out a very solid recruit class in a loaded conference. Imagine what he's going to do with bowl money like coming out of the Big East next season. I mean, look out. I mean, Miami's going to look out. You know Ebel's going to fight people, and he's going to go after people. He's probably going to go after Miami. He's probably going to go after Florida State, pick and choose his battles wisely, and he's going to have a ton of bowl money to do it. So another great recruiting class out of a first-year coach in his first team. Stanford keeps doing what Stanford does, recruit well. Osbald, Marquette, those guys did well. Jenny Var, who's always in chat and watching the show, we'll take a look at his class. He comes in at number 31, his first season here at North Carolina Tar Heels. I don't know if he thought maybe he was coaching basketball, but nonetheless, I guess it works well for football. But, yeah, very solid class in his first year again. Hats off to him. He got a really good running back, wide receiver. I'd like to see maybe some better defensive guys on there, but you got to do what you got to do with no bowl money. And then once again, this type of class that keeps your job in 4 years, hopefully. So, that's really what comes out of it. But yeah, great solid class. I really like those wide receivers. I wish I could have had a couple more of those wide receivers on my roster this year with the offense that I run. But yeah, great job to Jen with North Carolina. Looking forward to big things coming out of him. And let's back up. And let's see here. San Jose State, Baylor, Michigan. Lions fan had a little bit of a down year. Love to pick his brain and kind of see what happened then. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, what happened, because I believe his first year was pretty good, right? His first year was a 20, so it's not the best. So he's probably still kind of filling out the class. He definitely leans very heavy on high potential, so those guys could be a lot better in a couple years than they look now. But it will be definitely interesting to see. You got UTEP. Cal didn't have such a hot year in his first year without bowl money. Hawaii, of course, coming in at 61. My poor team in Houston coming in at 60. Really, if you take out the Sims that I had to take, which unfortunately were all running backs, and I don't even use running back in my offense, I had a pretty good class. I got some good offensive linemen, very high potential guys in my linebackers. Of course, they needed to be because they're all below 70, and my cornerbacks. So I was very happy there. I got a high potential guy in Oscar Chapman coming in as the number 14th quarterback. That's definitely going to help me going forward. And then I got another high potential wide receiver. So the core of the recruits that I got were good. I learned a very hard lesson. So there was the number 1 wide receiver was coming out of New Mexico. I kind of looked at people in my area, and I said, that's what I'm going to spend a bulk of my money on. I'm going to go get guys that are close, lock them up early, and try to keep them, and then go after that guy. Well, I did put money on that wide receiver in New Mexico in the beginning in the first cycle. First cycle hits. I think I had like 6 guys green. I was ecstatic. Was on a bunch of guys. Just had to knock off some sims. And then that number 1 wide receiver is still red. And I had spent quite a bit of money on him. And CJ had flipped him right away. So I said, okay. And then I went and I looked to see, okay, how many battles is CJ in? He was in quite a few. He's definitely battling. He was battling far away. I think distance-wise, we were pretty close. And I figured with how many scholarships I had, how many people I had locked up already, and how cheap I was able to get them for, that I should have a chance. I think I ended up spending 80 grand on the guy. I did eventually turn him yellow, and I still lost. And I think a lot of that has to do with the BCS versus non-BCS. And I think the second part of that was probably the fact that he got him green early, and I was always playing from behind. So everything that I was doing from the second cycle on was worth way less than what he did that first cycle to turn him green. So I think those were the 2 factors. So it's definitely going to be a learning curve. I'm in a great area as far as recruiting. You can get a lot of guys close by, which is nice. And then you can kind of maybe look for some sims and figure some things out across the country. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to pick at least probably 1 player every year that I'm going to go all out on, right? I'll sacrifice 1 sim, maybe 2 sims a year. Obviously 4 this year, but with maybe 5 this year yet. No, I'd sign the punter. So 4 this year at sims that I took. But with bulk money, I probably should do a little bit better than that. And I can be a little bit more patient as well and find some pretty good backups and sim AI guys that I'll be able to get to replace those. But overall, I think it was a decent first year for me, especially the core guys are going to be really good come junior, senior year on this team. So I'm pretty happy with it. Next year will definitely be wide receiver focused. All right, boys, let me look at who's in chat and just make sure I covered everybody there because I want to give you guys some love for showing up. Georgia had a decent class. We already talked about CJ's class, but number 38, obviously you got that big wide receiver, got a decent linebacker, and everybody else is kind of, you kind of look at him and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Hopefully they're high potential, but we'll see what happens to him. As far as the regular seasons go, he's absolutely killing it, so that's good. Alrighty then. And yeah, Wisconsin, another awkward location, number 40, Paul's first year. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not bad. We'll see what he can keep doing. A little surprised, Colorado State had been doing pretty good recruiting class until then. Tampa Flaw in Cincinnati. I don't think he was really able to recruit, unfortunately, but we always expect bigger and better things out of him. And Husker Fan 26, he is in chat, so of course we're going to cover him. First year at Akron, another Ohio team, just competing with the big boys, and it's not a bad class. I mean, he's non-BCS, so all he's got to do is get better talent than people in his conference, so he can run off conference championships, get to some level 4, maybe level 5 if he gets his team good enough, and build a good resume to get a really good job. I mean, I'm assuming that's his plan, but even if he stays here, this is a good start to roll off a lot of CCs. Good offensive linemen, good wide receivers. What else can you say? Should definitely be able to play well in that conference at the very least. So he'll pick this up. He'll learn the area. He'll figure it out. Definitely expect more and bigger and better things. I think I've said bigger and better things like 5 times already. But anyways, all right, guys. I think that's about it for Division 1A. If something else jumps out at me, maybe we bring it up. I will say UTEP. This guy was all over everybody. Cycle 1, I think he was on like 6 of my players. Easily beat him for every single person very quickly. He was competing with Colorado. I think he was on some of Blitz's guys maybe and some other big Texas schools. So I don't really know what the strategy is, but it clearly didn't work out the best. Yeah, so that's all I got to say about that is try not to just battle every single coach in your area. So definitely interesting. Division 2, one thing I learned at Division 2 is absolutely nothing at all, because I have absolutely no idea who is good and who is not good at this level. I did end up with the number 18 class, and I didn't have any playoff money, and it was actually extremely easy to recruit. I took 2 sims. I struck out on like the number 3 best quarterback. Went on him when he was Sim AI, and then 2 of the best teams in the country jumped on him. So I was pretty much out of money there. But I was able to fill this almost entire roster within 3 cycles. They all had Sim guys on them, and I think I carried over like. No, I was out of money. I didn't carry over. I carried over Florida Atlantic. And it was pretty easy. I just went after Sim AI guys and try to find the best people I could and get potential, and this is what it came out with. So we'll see as I get better and better vision how many people I can actually run into. I got to imagine the better my vision gets, I'm going to start running into, those teams at the top, the Henderson State that we see up here every year, the Stonehill, the South Dakota, the West Virginia State. Slippery Rock, ever since AWAG's left there, has been up there quite a bit. So we'll see what happens. But you always constantly see some of these best schools up here, right? Valdosta State, St. Joseph, Winona State. Vision is definitely, Miami Jeffy is up here all the time, at Virginia Union, Slider. You definitely have to have vision recruit at DT. It's by far the conference where it matters the most. You got, when you have a vision advantage, you are nights and day better than everybody else. Just the recruits you can see is so much better than even just an average team. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens. But it's definitely going to be a learning curve. We'll kind of see what happens there. But if you go from full roster rank or recruit rank to full roster rank, the same teams that have the best recruiting classes, they're up there because they have the best vision. And of course they're going to be in the full roster as well. So we'll kind of keep looking to see what happens there and see what I can do with my team while I'm learning. It should be very interesting to see what happens at D2, but definitely hats off to these coaches, because one thing that's frustrating for me at D2 is that you don't have the same amount of money, but you feel like you need the money just to be able to recruit those guys. Like, things don't really cost any less. You're just given less money to go make stuff happen. So you definitely have to be a little bit more picky and choosy on where you spend that money, and definitely get, a lot of value out of that money and get a lot of guys for cheap. I had to go get guys for like $1,100 or, $800 if I could, just to save that money, because, I had a lot of recruits, so that means I had a lot of money, but it costs a lot to get guys. So it's definitely a very interesting place to recruit from. Definitely a learning curve, a lot. Just to figure this out and how much money to spend, how much money is worth it, who's good at that level, what recruits you should be going after. So it'll be fun to see kind of as the seasons and the months go on, how this progresses, what I learn and what I can really take out of it. And hopefully I can be a top, 10 team at, in the next couple seasons. So we'll see what happens there. I did see Harris came in. So I wanted to Harris WB3, so I wanted to pull up his class. Very good class. If you just look at obviously the star rating, but then the actual individual recruit ranking, he got a really, really good class. He got the number 3 and the number 4 running back, the number 1 and the number 3 offensive lineman, and the number 22. We got a lot of offensive linemen, so we must have had a lot graduate. Hopefully he's redshirting some of those. Some very good defensive players down at the bottom. Everybody's a top 50 at their position. So that means if they have even decent potential, they're going to stay up there. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens there. Yeah, good job, Harris. First of all, thanks for joining the show. I know we don't talk about D2 too much, so I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to try to get some more content in here on these episodes. Since I am in it, I'll at least have a little bit more vision into it and what's going on. But yeah, no, great class, man. Loved seeing it. Definitely expect big things out of you. So West Virginia State. We go to full roster rankings, you are at number 9. And it looks like you're constantly doing good, so that's always nice to see, right? I don't even know what's going on here. Is this thing broken? This can't be real, right? 1 second. 1 second. Oh, Division 2. All right, what's going on, Harris? What is going on? You got no quarterback, no wide receivers, and you're 4-0, and you got a lot of linemen. You got to be running the wishbone, right? Yeah, so you're running the wishbone. You're beating people. You're playing all Sims, but nonetheless, you actually have people passing the ball. Oh, no, that's the other team. Yeah, so you don't ever pass. You run it down. Okay, guys. Here's a new thing. Yeah, and for the rest of the story. I like that throwback to when I used to listen to that listen to that radio show with my dad all the time for the rest of the story. All right, yeah. So all running backs, run it down your throat, get a lot of yards. I'll be very interested to see how this does against any school. Schooling me at Winona State, that's a good school. So that's going to be your first test. So we're going to check back on 9/16 and see how Harris B does against, you know, a normal school with no quarterback, no wide receivers, and running every single play. I got to imagine you can stop it. I don't know how long you've been doing this, but if you did it last season, you lost in round 2 and you won the CC and you went 15-1. So it clearly worked at least enough to get you there. Would love to see if you can get some more success out of it. So thank you so much for 1, listening in, and 2, speaking up so I can look at your class and making us aware of this, because we will keep an eye on this little experiment. All right, guys, I have to take a little break. Maybe just 5 minutes, and then we're going to jump into some season info, and yeah, we'll go from there. So give me like 5 minutes, guys, and I will be right back. Let me find something to play. Hopefully this doesn't.
T-Mobile's Unlimited now includes Netflix on us. That's right, on us.
The Netflix and T-Mobile stuff. And we'll be back.
I've seen Jesus play with flames in a lake of fire that I was standing in. Met the devil in Seattle, spent 9 months inside the lion's den. Met Buddha yet another time, he showed me a glowing light within. But I swear that God is there every time I go to the eyes of my best friend. Says, my son, it's all been done. Someday you're gonna wake up old and gray. Go and try and have some fun, showing warmth to everyone you meet and greet, cheat along the way. There's a gateway in our minds that leads somewhere out there, far beyond this plane. We're reptile aliens made of light, cut you open and pull out all your pain. Tell me how you make illegal something that I'll make in our brain. Some say you might go crazy, then again it might make you go sane. Every time you take a look inside that old fabled book, blinded and reminded of the pain caused by some old man in the sky. Marijuana, LSD, psilocybin, DMT, they all change the way I see. Love's the only thing that ever saved my life. So don't waste your mind on nursery rhymes, fairy tales, blood and wine. There's turtles on the way down the line. So to each their own till we go home. Further realms our souls must roam, to and through that we all call space and time.
Do you have PTSD?
What was the worst thing you saw?
Did you agree with why we were there?
What's it like to shoot somebody?
Don't you get lonely?
Have you ever killed anyone?
they'll never see me again. They'll never see me again.
All right, guys. We are back. All right, this part of the show, we're going to be going over current Wiz rankings in Division 1 AA and Division 1A. I won't cover D2 too much because just too many people play Sims. Conferences aren't that full because there's so many freaking teams. So we won't cover too much, at least until playoffs, but we will be checking in every show with Harris's experiment for sure, because I definitely want to keep an eye on that. But we will, of course, get to be covering Division 1 AA and Division 1A. Gonna start with my boys in Division 1A. You got Texas State coming in at number 1. Like I kind of said earlier in the show, this is my pick to win the national championship this year. Phi has done a great job since he's been there. He made a national title game last year. I think his team, I don't know if I can say is better, but it's still a great team. He's got a great quarterback, and the guy's a redshirt junior in Tim Jacobs. The guy's got a work ethic of 82. So who the hell knows where he's going to become next year. But that guy's leading the charge. You got good running backs. You got good wide receivers. You got really good linemen down here at the bottom, and those guys are all juniors. Interesting how he stacks this. If you look at his offensive line, and Phi, if you're still in chat, if not, let us know later on. But he's got all freshmen and all junior. So he's definitely relying very heavily on having those upperclassmen. So he's definitely going to go through cycles. But even if you spread it out this year, by the time these guys are seniors, these are sophomores. When these guys retire, then he's got seniors and he's got all freshmen. So it's definitely an interesting strategy. We'll have to keep an eye on to see how it works, but it's definitely pretty cool. Defensive lineman, very good on the defensive lineman side. Decent linebackers. He's got the starters are pretty good, and he's got a couple good backups. So he's definitely pretty good there. And he's got some pretty decent defensive backs. So he's definitely got a good team this year, and he's a good coach. He makes deep runs, and he's won already some big games. I mean, he beat Tennessee Martin. LGFTW is definitely not a bad coach. He had a lot of success when he took over for Mr. Aston over there, Mr. Ian, who's in chat, when he took over for him at NAU. And it's funny, me and Ian just actually found out that we live probably, I don't know, 2-3 miles away from each other. It's pretty funny, so we'll grab a beer soon, but nice to see him in chat. Yeah, so he had a good win today. Definitely expect him to beat Youngstown State. He definitely in a tough conference, though. I mean, he's got to go against Macbeth BR, who we'll talk about here in a second. Stephen F. Austin's got a better team this year, and those are probably obviously his two biggest games. He kind of avoids Cal Poly this year. So, but yeah, definitely expect Texas State to make another deep run, hopefully another run at the national championship. You got Duke legend coming in at number 2 at William & Mary. He's constantly, obviously, winning CCs. He made it to the semifinals last year and lost. I think CJ was talking about how maybe he doesn't have the capability to win games in the playoffs or win games when they matter. But look at the wins he already has this year. He beat a good Robert Morris team by a ton. I won't say good. He beat a decent Robert Morris team by a ton. He beat a good Eastern Kentucky team, CJ's old team, by a ton. He beat Stearns, who's constantly has success at Youngstown State, by a ton. And he beat Orange Pays by a ton. He's got a pretty hard game coming up next, and then he'll probably run through, obviously, the A10 like he normally does. So he's winning big games already, teams that he's going to see in the playoffs come playoff times. Definitely expect a lot out of Duke Legend this year. He's a great coach with a great team. Drake comes in at number 3. Even though he had an off recruiting year, he's still winning. He made a deep run last year. Expect the same 9. Georgia Southern I kind of talked about in recruiting. Excuse me. And he's got a really good team. I mean, look at these running backs. He's got 3 guys. He's got 1 guy's at 82 and 2 at 78. So he's got a great running game. He's got good wide receivers. His quarterback's the only area that's a little lackluster. But if you look at the way he plays, it doesn't necessarily own too much weight as far as the quarterback goes. And he's got a pretty good defense. His secondary is a little weak, which might be some areas you can target. He's got good starters, but other than that, these guys, if he can get to his backups, it's definitely going to hurt him. And he's having a good year at 4-0. He's got some decent wins. Big win against Jacksonville State. Husker 111 was a powerhouse last year and beat almost every top team. I believe he won the conference championship in the OVC. Yes, I'm right. He went the last 3 years. The guy's a stud. He just beat him. He only beat him by 3, but he beat him. That's all that matters. Beat an OK Eastern Illinois, and then he scheduled another OVC team in Tennessee Tech. So he's probably going to own the Tennessee Tech this year. Won through and win his conference, and I definitely expect another deeper playoff round, at least this year. You know, I hope he can at least make it to the semis. Definitely a team to look out for in the future, like I talked about before. Texas Southern, we all know about with Vikes rule. That team's rolled off 5 national championships now in a row. This is probably the weakest the team has been. You start seeing some of Nitros recruits are dropping out. Vikes rules are obviously now being played and in there. Definitely weak on quarterback. Good running back, good wide receiver. You know, everything else is pretty decent. He'll probably make a deep run, but definitely not as stacked of a team as had in the past. So definitely don't expect him to win it all, but definitely expect another deep run. St. Mary's, talked a little bit about Macbeth BR, great coach. You know, not the toughest out of conference. I mean, he did beat Tennessee Tech. He's beating everybody by a lot, which is what matters. He did beat Ian last night, 44-28. And then he's got to play Texas State. So that's the last really big game on Texas State's schedule. Very interesting to see who wins that game. It's going to tell us a lot about both teams and who's got a better shot at making it deeper. And then he's going to come against Cal Poly, who Cal Poly's number 8. We might as well talk about him number now. We might as well talk about them right now. He doesn't have a good quarterback, but he doesn't need a quarterback because all he does is run the ball down your throat. He beat a very good Duquesne team. His only loss on Columbus Bucks season. Took OT, but he beat him. What did he do? Oh, look, he actually threw the ball quite a bit, and that's a terrible quarterback. So that's surprising, but he's also going to run the ball down your throat. A lot of attempts there. I do like the fact that, so one thing I think I said last season or maybe 2 seasons ago is I'd like to see Cal Poly have the ability to throw that passing game in there when it needs. Everybody knows he's going to run. He talks about it all the time. He wants big running backs. He wants to run it down somebody's throat, and that's what he's going to do. Well, if everybody knows that, they're going to stack the box against you, right? Same thing they do in the NFL, same thing they do in college. If they know they're running it, you're going to get a lot of people in the box, and people are going to be playing that run game. Well, it looks like he finally mixed in a little bit of passing, and even with honestly not good quarterbacks, he's able to at least complete some stuff because I guarantee you people are playing the run, and that's what happens when you mix it up. If you look at this Northern Iowa game, this is a stacked Northern Iowa team, as always, with a great coach who has some big wins already this year. He lost to Cal Poly. He lost in overtime, but he lost 40-37. Cal Poly, once again, passed here, but look at, he averaged 7.7 yards a carry by this one running back who ran the ball 33 times. That's pretty crazy. Once again, his quarterback, decent amount of, obviously 44 attempts is a lot. Only completed 60%. Only completed 6%. I'm sure Carson Palmer would have liked to completed 6% of his passes against the Lions. 2 DDs, and the interception's not burning him. So definitely interesting to see. Look out for Cal Poly. Looks like he mixing in a little bit more passing and able to get a little bit better results out of it. Maine and Chetty we always expect a lot of. Grambling State, the one team that has beaten Cal Poly this year, we kind of glanced over. That's obviously their biggest win of the year. Other than that, nothing too crazy. He's got a big game coming up against Duke Legend, though. We'll keep an eye there. And Eastern Kentucky, we'll see what Sooners 81 can do with CJ's old team. Yale, I mean, what can you say about Yale? Constantly has decent results. Like to see him maybe make a deeper run over the top. Northern Iowa we talked about. I mean, still a pretty stacked team. Great place to recruit from. Got that loss. Did get a big win over #1 guest-rated Dayton, 10-23. So it really wasn't that close. And if you look at the yards difference, I mean, that's crazy. This Dayton team has way too much talent to be forming this way. Just proves to show you that you can't just have a stacked team. No matter what, you have to come in and actually game plan. No matter what the formations is, you just got to do it and pull it up. We'll see what he can do against Vikes rule. This is a very big test game for both these teams, and we'll recap it on the next show of who came out over top. Then you got Princeton, Liberty, Duquesne. We talked about Columbus Buck. Let's kind of take a look at his schedule here. Talked about that OT loss. You know, it was a close game against a good team in OT to number 8. Good win against Tennessee Martin's probably his best win so far. We'll see what he can do Jacksonville State. That's a very tough team, even though Husker 111's already lost once. The guys won the OVC 3 times in a row, so we'll see what happens there. And then he's got Jag coming in Delaware State, which he'll probably run the table there. But Columbus Buck and Duquesne definitely should come out on top of that conference. Youngstown Stain, we talked about a bunch. Love to see Stearns make I think he's made a couple deep runs in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, he made it to the third round, made it to the semis a whole bunch, and really just couldn't get over that hump. I mean, he's a great coach. He can game plan. Hopefully he can start getting those CCs back away from Northern Iowa and start winning that conference again and making deep runs. Indiana State, that team that I told you guys, somebody needs to pick up and recruit from. They don't have a terrible team if you look at those ratings. Obviously lost to Texas State, played a bunch of Sims, but he's winning. Would definitely be an interesting team for somebody to pick up. Dayton we talked about already. They're all the way down here at 2-2. Had an awful loss against Albany today. I don't care what you say. I mean, if you got that much better talent, you just have to game plan a little bit just to win. I mean, it really shouldn't be that hard. Jag's coming in at number 32 with that rebuild. Shout out to Jag. Stephen F. Austin. That's a good Stephen F. Austin team. Jeff C. has been building that team up year over year. Definitely expect a decent run out of him there. He's got a really tough game coming up against Cal Poly, but nice to see him with that rebuild. Orange Pace, I don't know if work's busy. It just seems like Orange Pace, when he tries, he dominates, and then when he's not really there, stuff like this happens. So interesting to see what happens there. But, yeah, that's really all I got to say. I am a little disappointed in Timber Drive and my old team at Jacksonville. He's got, I think, like the number 5. And look at these running backs. I think the shitty thing is I left him in a sticky situation because I was obviously switching this team to shotgun, but they're still practicing Notre Dame box and trips are high. So the formation IQ is still high enough to succeed extremely well with this team. Number 71 ranked quarterback. Really good running backs. Look at this. Look at these guys. Studs. I recruited some studs for him last year. Some good wide receivers. Obviously if you're running trips, that's not ideal. But if he runs Notre Dame box, you got 2 wide receivers that are right at 80. You're only starting 1. I mean, that's good. Offensive lineman's good. Defensive line's good. I mean, this team is good. I don't know really what happened. I didn't schedule him the easiest schedule, but this should have been a win for sure. I mean, let's kind of see what he's doing here. What formation is he running? He's running the Notre Dame box. And he's running it down their throat. He's just, for whatever reason, it's not working. So, love to see Timber Drive figure that out because that's a good team, great place to recruit from. This is the game he obviously needs to win. Let's make sure we win that one. I won it last year, and that's all that matters. All right. And other than that, we'll move on. All right, Division 1A. We got CJ, everybody's favorite junior, coming in at number 1. One thing I'll say about CJ, this team is stacked. Lions fan left them a great team. Obviously, Bad Axe was there last year, but there's still a lot of Lions fan all over this roster, and it's really good. I mean, he's got a really good redshirt junior quarterback in Gregory Price coming in at 76.58. Stud running backs. Good offense, decent wide receivers. He's got two good wide receivers, right? The junior in Harold Smith, and then the freshman that he signed this year in Tom Fowler. Not good tight ends, and then good linemen on both sides of the ball, and a pretty decent defense. But what he does have is this offense absolutely clicking. He beat Florida State. I mean, it's not the best Florida State team, but it is an elite and a decent coach in Bad Axe. So he did beat Florida State. Came through and just handed it to Colorado State. Obviously beat a Sim and beat a first-year coach, Jen, at North Carolina. I think he's probably going to get, if I had to make a prediction, it's probably going to be at least a 20-point win for Alabama tomorrow. Alabama, AWAGS has that team stacked and rolling. CJ does have his game plan down, so that's good. But I think this is where it's going to come to an end. So it's where he's going to get his first loss, and then he still has to play a 4-0 Texas with a loaded PK Dries team, and he's going to have to try to beat Jason Freeman, who Jason Freeman probably doesn't have as much talent, honestly, as CJ does. But, I mean, Jason Freeman is, I mean, that defense is actually stacked if you look at Jason Freeman's defense. But he's definitely going to probably out-game plan him there probably a little bit. So, probably getting up the season with 3 losses. At least that's my prediction, so we'll see where he goes there. Pittsburgh so far out of the Big East is having a good season. Virginia Tech, that Boston College win is good. I mean, that's a good Boston College win, or good Boston College team, so that's definitely going to help his resume there. Obviously, a win over Georgia. Missouri with Hypnotoad. That's a decent Missouri team, but still definitely early in that rebuild. So it'll be interesting what happens, and he's got to run through the gauntlet. I mean, I don't even know how to predict these games, honestly, guys. Some of them are going to be close. The Syracuse game, Ebel's got a crazy good defense there at South Florida, and we all know how he can game plan, so he could probably pull off a win there. And then the Syracuse game is probably going to be his other big one. So, I mean, it's hard. If anybody ever goes undefeated in the Big East, they're making a national championship. If they don't, something's broken and we need to get it fixed. But, yeah, tough road ahead for Pittsburgh. Jason Freeman's first year at Nebraska, taking over for Willie G. Went over Wisconsin with first-year coach Paul. Went over Louisville's probably his biggest one with a great coach in Oswald and a good team, won by 3. It's not surprising that one was close. And he's still got Oklahoma with Blitz coming, Texas A&M with Arcade Cowboy. And, of course, that Colorado team that we talked about. He's got a pretty easy shot. If he can, obviously he's going to beat Wake Forest. This is going to be his hardest game. I think if he beats Blitz, he's going to obviously win out and have a very, very good shot. I mean, he's got to win his conference championship game probably against Texas. But if he does that, obviously he's got a good shot at national championship. So let's keep an eye on that and see where he goes. Marquette and Hat Rock, I mean, they're coming in at number 4. What is this? This is like his 6 years, right? So this is definitely not a rebuild anymore. Beat Michigan State. Definitely getting a little love here from the Wiz Gods to get him up to rank number 4. But he does have a good team. Very big test right here in Minnesota. This is going to tell us what Marquette is. Hat Rock's obviously a good coach. If he can beat Minnesota and Kentucky, which is a good team, then we'll see what they're made of, and then we'll see how he does in the first couple games. Obviously, he's got Syracuse early, so it doesn't really bode too well. Minnesota we talked about. I mean, he's constantly having pretty decent results. He's just not winning CCs. I mean, he's going 9-5, but the guy does schedule pretty hard. So, I mean, I'd like to see him maybe schedule a little less. He's got to go through the Big Ten, but we'll see how good he is there. Ohio State with Roxy having some pretty good results. Like I said, the guy's putting in consistently good results, recruiting well. Hasn't played a tough schedule. Still has some big games left in Penn State and Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame's 0-4. It's still definitely going to be a tough one to win that Notre Dame should win. You got UCLA, Ohio State, Washington, Michigan, Wisconsin, blah, 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 blah. I mean, really, teams that I think have national championship promises here. Obviously, Penn State, even with the loss, they can definitely get in. USC's going to have a good chance, even with another loss, which the loss was to Michigan. Michigan, if they can win out. I mean, really, I think if you look at it, as long as an undefeated team can come out of the Big Ten, or maybe a one-loss team, with that loss being in the conference championship, I think they're going to get a national championship chance. I think if Alabama can win out, I think they're going to have a very, very good chance. Unfortunately, AWAG's already lost. Lost to Oklahoma by a lot today, 63-35. I mean, that's a good blitz team, but 63-35, oof, especially after beating California and Notre Dame. I mean, that's very interesting. We'll see what he can do against CJ, and then he's got to get through LSU and then just win with CC. So he's got a clear shot, but he's got to win out from here, and he's got to hope teams like Michigan and probably Texas don't win out. Texas actually rated pretty low. They are undefeated, but I think going through that Big 12 is just obviously going to help the SOS and probably get there. But, I mean, obviously we can talk about surprise teams all day, right? I mean, any team out of the Big East is running through a gauntlet. Wisconsin being this high, they're getting a little help from the Wiz Gods, but, you know, it's a good coach, even though it's his first year, so we'll see what he can do there. Ohio State's undefeated. If this guy wins out, I mean, he's in. That's all that matters. The ball's in his court. And then we got some teams down here. Now, my team's ranked 15th. We are 4-0. We'll probably go 5-0. I got to imagine winning that San Jose State game. Been pretty happy. You know, I have some big shoes to fill covering for Ebel. And, you know, it was kind of daunting, right? I don't want to let it down because it's a stacked roster as far as the quarterback and wide receivers go. I mean, that's when you're running shotgun, that's what you need. Quarterback, wide receivers. That's what matters, right? And it's stacked. I put in my shotgun offense, obviously, because I don't know his formations. I don't know exactly how he played his game. And it's been working, right? It's also the first time I ran only 3-4, so I'm figuring that out as well. But I was able to beat, a decent Pete team, and really Pete can win with less talent. So I was happy to come out with a 4-point win over there, beat a good Army team. Really, this Rutgers team was my biggest worry in my non-conference, and beat them 20-13. That's a Rutgers team that beat Tennessee earlier. Beat Tennessee in that's a good elite school with a good coach, and I was able to come up on top of that. So I'll probably, odds are I'm going to win out the rest of the season. SOS is not going to help me, though. I got to imagine that if I went out and got undefeated, maybe number 5, maybe that gets me to a level 5 bowl at the very least. But yeah, I probably don't have a shot at national championship. But, until I can really figure everything out next year, I'm hoping to get a little bit of help scheduling people like Pittsburgh and South Florida. But I'll slowly start scheduling some better teams as I get a better feel for, my shotgun offense again, and also the roster. But we'll see what can happen there. And yeah, guys, I think that's all we're really going to talk about now. Obviously, when we get into conference play, get out of non-for-conference, we'll kind of get a better idea how this is going to shape out. I got to imagine that in 2 to 3 games, I think 3 schools that are in the top 10 right now still in the top 10 in 3 to 4 games. Maybe 4. But I think over half are going to be out. So I think they'll get weeded out. So we'll keep an eye on it. Probably do a show maybe next Sunday. Next Sunday night, we'll kind of start going over things and make some even deeper predictions. I think that show, I'll actually pull up the media guides, take a look at kind of what those predictions were versus what's actually happening and what's unfolding during the season. It should be pretty fun. But overall, I think it'll be a pretty good show. So I really appreciate you guys coming around. I'll be in the Slack chat tonight. I'll probably just get in the podcast, so don't stick around for any music or anything like that. But as always, I appreciate you guys coming. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button in the channel. It'll let you know when I'm on. Also lets me know that you guys are out there and listening and following along. And I'll give you some alerts. So once again, guys, appreciate it so much. Keep having a good season. Shoot me a site mail if you think there's something I missed or something you want me to cover and talk about. I couldn't do the show without your guys' input. And go check out all the articles. I know there's another Jabbering Jag with some really good Division I AA content going on. The Jag just posted today. Husker 26, his last post I actually really liked. He gave some national championships, kind of the road to the national championship for some Division 1A teams. So go give those guys some love and give those a read. They're all good. And I will catch you on the flip side. Everybody have a good night.